Day 14 in the Yosoi year. The emotional aspect of the heart chakra in Leo. 17th of August 2020, titled The Loves. Me. If love means without death in Latin, that is, it is something eternal. And we all know that the eternal is energy, because it constantly transforms without ending. Then love is an energy, the energy that eternally passes through it and builds everything. Therefore, love has many forms, and one can love in various ways, right? I am. Clearly, love is that eternal energy that originates and shapes everything. From the first pulse of the universe, it is the eternal energy that is transformed again and again, from waves to strings, from strings to quantum, from quantum to particles, and these into atoms, and thus into molecules, and these into chemical elements. And the elements in acids that make up the genetic codes and are protected in the plasma of a cell, which multiplies until it becomes an organ, and then an organism, a body, and then an entity, and from there to a being. That is, everything is love, because everything is eternal energy. And the energy vibrates like music in different tunes. The strings of time that build the base of the entire energetic connection are like the strings of a piano or a guitar or harp, which depending on their thickness, tension or length will sound more acute or serious, and generating the energetic variety that you hear as music when they all combine. For a beautiful song to have the expected effect, it needs rhythms, beats, moments of tension and resolution, which leads us to understand that the song we call love will have different notes, some serious and dense and others subtle and sharp. This scale in humans is located throughout the body, as if you were a guitar with strings that cross your entire body from the feet to the head. And the tensioners, those that arrange the tension on the strings, are found in each of the chakras, like this. The shorter and thicker the string, the more serious and denser it will sound, generating low emotions. And the longer and sharper it sounds, the higher emotions you will feel. But they all make the song. Me. In other words, it could be understood that hate is not the opposite of love, but one of its many notes, the most serious of all. I am. When you listen to a song, the low notes are the ones that take you inward, to see what has not been worked on, to the tension that lives in you. Hate is one of those tensions, and happiness is the resolution of this musical tension. But both create the song. Therefore, the only thing that allows you to enjoy and hear the beautiful melody is unconditional love, because you can see the logic and beauty in each process, in each note, without judging it. Me. This would justify all kinds of love. That is to say, is obsessive love okay? The jealousy or the typical I hit you because I love you of machismo? I am. It is not a question of what is right and what is wrong. It's a matter of tuning the strings. An out-of-tune instrument only generates noise, disharmony. The mistake is to think that happiness is right, believing that then sadness is wrong. No, there is no emotion that is bad for the universe, nor any form of love that is correct. there are only out-of-tune instruments that need an adjustment on the strings. Hate is very useful when it is channeled, since it generates the necessary tension that drives an energetic discharge that seeks to release the release of said tension. Hatred of oppression seeks freedom as a result. Hatred of war seeks peace as a result. However, in the human vocabulary, you have polarized emotions as if they were concepts and not energies. Me. I get the point. Both negative and positive are useful for lighting. The problem is not knowing how to tune it, adjust it, and that implies how I use the chakras, which are the motors or the pegs of a guitar. I am adjusting your chakras like the strings of a guitar, that is, organizing the energy in them, making them rotate correctly and in harmony with the others. You will be able to make the negative strings sound to be useful in your love melody. Unconditional means without conditions, and sometimes people often don't realize what this means, and they think that unconditional is something very idyllic, in which the negative is rejected and one lives in a world of peace and brotherhood and utopia. However, it is very different. It involves precisely recognizing the usefulness of even that which is negative and dark, and lovingly understanding that whoever is out of tune is because they have not been able to adjust their chakras, their chords, not because they are bad. Perhaps in your life you have experienced situations that have misaligned the pegs, and for this reason your form of love is out of tune. Me. So the proposal is to help adjust the inner world so that love is useful. I am. All existing emotions are useful, all of them, and all of them arise from the eternal energy that is love. Do you understand why it is said that God is love, and that the universe is love, or only love will set you free, or all you need is love? Me. Yes, because love does not mean being in love, but being eternal, unlimited. And in fact, it is what it feels like when you fall in love. You feel that there are no limits and that you can do anything. I am. Because all emotions coexist there, the most important are those that have been registered in each cell as survival mechanisms on Earth. Joy, anger, fear, sadness, surprise, disgust, trust, interest. And then from them come shame, guilt, embarrassment, satisfaction, content, enthusiasm, complacency, pride, and pleasure. And all of the above go from being reactions to constant states, something you call feelings, such as generosity, joy, affection, jubilation, compassion, hope, freedom, gratitude, acceptance, accompaniment, kindness, admiration, benevolence, kindness, relief, empathy, integrity, harmony, attachment, approval, honesty, humility, concentration, temperance, tolerance, motivation, happiness, strength, autonomy, serenity, optimism, satisfaction, security, and love itself. Me. And then I must ensure that all this coexists in me harmoniously, without judgments, because unconditional love contains them and needs all of them to create its melody. I am. They are the different loves that coexist in your heart. And the word that is here says, which is the rosette of the guitar, and it may mean Rosetta Stone, where the great resonance is produced, where the bass and the tensions, the treble and the resolutions are combined. Me. Is this why we tend to fall deeply in love with things that cause us conflict? That is to say, the great love stories are usually the ones that must overcome all kinds of obstacles and conflicts. Romeo and Juliet, for example, although it is applicable to almost all stories. I am. Exactly. All this lives in you. All those sensations are there. They are your strings. But you are the guitar, the piano, or the harp. The musician is usually the other, the one who appears in your life, and he plays your strings. That person, that being, is the one who will make you see what sounds are in you and the adjustments or imbalances in your strings. Humans usually think that one or such emotion is felt by the grace or guilt of another person. However, that emotion lives in me and is out of tune or in tune in me. The other only touched the string, making it sound and showing me how I sound. But the one that sounds bad is me, not the other. The resounding reaction is in me, not in the other. Me. Well, although the other also has to know where to play, he chose to play that string and not another for some reason. I am. Resonance is everything. What the other plays in me only makes what is in me sound, but in turn makes sound what the other needed to hear and was not hearing in himself. The musician does not play the song with deaf ears, but in the hope of getting something out of it. It is an energetic symbiosis, which through relationships seeks to improve, feel harmony, find unconditional love. And for this first, both the musician and the instrument must recognize all their sounds, their emotions, and the number of melodies that they are capable of creating. But above all, free themselves from the role, because many people believe that they are the instruments of others, and many believe that they are the musicians who use the instruments at their mercy. Both are instruments and musicians at the same time. Me. And how do I become a good musician? I am. Playing your own instrument and feeling its resonance in the heart. The music you can make of yourself. It is much easier to blame others, those who play the strings, than to see that one can provoke the same emotions in oneself. Looking in the mirror, recognizing that everything I don't like is just the music that emerges from me and filters what I hear from the world. It is not something easy. It implies accepting yourself as the generator of your own conflicts. What does not resonate, what is out of tune, what is in my being is my music. And no musician wants to discover that the orchestra's problem was his own instrument. That is why we throw the good and the bad on others. Me. That's why we say things like, without that person I am nothing, or I need him, I hate him, My problems would disappear if he or she disappeared from my life. All those things that we project onto the other are nothing more than our own imbalances, which the other only allows us to listen to. I am. The belief that we need the other to be who we are, the belief that it is the other who produces this or that emotion in me, and that it is only because of the other that I can feel complete or empty. Me. What is falling in love then? I mean that feeling that we feel in the heart as if it were going to explode. I am. This happens when an external agent, be it a situation, a person, an epiphany, or a revelation, makes all our emotions sound at the same moment, and everything from the lowest to the highest of your being sound in unison. This generates a reaction that neutralizes everything that was separated and makes it unified. But at the same time, nothing can be felt, because everything is felt at the same time. But falling in love is only an instant, because then the strings begin to sound in resonance with others, generating conflicts and tensions that later culminate in resolutions. Love is like a sea, full of waves with peaks and depths, ups and downs. It is the only way things can be eternal, if they transform. Think now of all the people you have managed to love, in every way, those you have loved deeply. Me. No, it has always been modified, turned into hate, or betrayal, or disappointment, or anguish, or from love to friendship, from passion to relationship, from friendship to lover. It never remains static. I am. By the wave. You can't go against the sea, but you can learn to swim in it. Wanting to dominate the sea is selfish. Learning to swim is unconditional love. For a sea without waves carries no ship to its destination. Knowing that the forms of love will always change, you cannot cling to any of them, because they will all inevitably transform. So you only have to accept it as it is. And by accepting it, you know that the waves do not rise and then go down and never rise again, but they return and return to the surface. When instead of seeing a rise and fall, you see the horizon of the sea and the millions of waves in it, you will be able to understand what acceptance, empathy, unconditionality means. Understanding that love is water. Me. In a certain way, it is liberating. Well, it allows us to see everything with love, that our hearts can resonate without expectations, without wanting to get attached to the sensation. I am. And yet, you are. Me. What? How do you mean? I am attached to an expectation. That cough you have, it's not coming from your throat, is it? Me. No, it's true. It comes from the heart, from the high heart. I am. You feel the pressure in your chest. Me. It's like all the strings got knotted there and they can't sound as expected. I am. Tell me, who was the musician who broke your heart? Me. You know the story. When Merlin, in Avebury, England, he told me that he could only fulfill my mission and purpose if he managed to abandon both for love allowing me to fall in love with nothingness, with emptiness. And he told me that he would do it only by going to the heart, to Switzerland. And so it was. After 2 weeks, I went to Switzerland, and when I arrived, I met him, or rather, I remembered him. Seeing each other, it was like finding that other part of me. We both felt it. I've never felt like this before. When I saw him, I felt like saying, "Thanks for showing up. I'm glad you're here again." Later that same day, he told me that he was in love with me, but that he knew that I could never feel anything for him because he was nothing, nobody. He was empty. And then his words were those of Merlin, and something in me made me understand what he felt. He had never fallen in love with anyone like this. The next day, I had to go to Stockholm to present an autocracy project in a foundation, my life purpose. And already at the airport, I decided not to get on the plane, leave the airport and stay with him there in Geneva, in Switzerland, the heart of Europe, which is the heart of the world, activating my own heart next to yours in a village at the center of CERN, the particle accelerator, that's spelled CERN. But that same week, his family went from loving me to hating me, and they forbade us to be together. They turned him against me by making him believe lies, and I was never able to see him again. He disappeared from my life. Over time, I understood that his love and his presence embodied all that love that he should feel for myself. However, since then, 2 years ago, I feel what I never believed was true, a thorn in my heart. I am. Tell me how you feel. Me. It's as if nothing made sense, as if all the emotions of my life led me to him, because with him I felt all, absolutely all the emotions that I could feel with someone from the lowest to the highest. And like the very nothing he claimed to be, he disappeared without even saying goodbye. I am. Your heart was left in a state of tension, unable to reach resolution. But you know well that every person in the external world is only a projection of the internal world. Without him, you would not have discovered love as you did. You would not have known that you were capable of freeing yourself from your history and your mission. You realize that you are really free, and then you have made it a conscious choice rather than a duty and a weight. You have allowed yourself to love all people without limits, and you have understood the strength of pain, transforming it into teaching. His love did not disappear. It lives in you. He showed you what you are capable of when you love, the melody of your heart. Me. Even so, my heart needs to close this story, which is the most open of all that is in me today. It still hurts, and it's the words I couldn't tell him that make me cough from my high heart. I am. First, you must be able to say them to yourself, and then you will find him to say them to him. Well, every great path of love does not begin with the delivery of one to the other, but the delivery itself, allowing oneself to hear one's own melody. Me. I don't know how to do it. My projection of what we could have been together is so big that my heart keeps beating on an idea that no longer exists. I am. And you continue to hope that talking about him will one day let him know that you are still waiting for his return. And the truth is, dear friend, he won't. Well, Who do you expect to come back? He lives in your memories and your expectations of what he could be, and not what he is. What you expect to return, he already lives inside you. And as long as your song sounds like what could have been, it will never be what is. Therefore, in love, we should not expect anything from anyone, but be what we expect to receive. Love yourself, and you will only receive love. Me. I will do everything in my power to make my strings sound again. I am. There is not much you should do. It is simply to love him, because the idea you have of him does not live in him, but within you. All of you humans project onto others what lives inside you, and cry at the other's inability to give you what has always been in your internal worlds. Learn to give yourself what you expect from others, and then you will receive the coherence of others towards you, freely, without expectations or ideas or conditions. The attachment to the idea of what could be is one of the fundamental keys to let go of, in order to love, because the sea is a free spirit that cannot be locked up in a chest. Me. I will only say that the love that he awakened in me helped me to realize that I had that love inside me. A love capable of going from nothing to everything in an instant and back to nothing again. I am. To return again to the all. Me. I honor what I feel without judgment, because even today in his absence, he continues to remind me of the strength of love that is in my heart. I just have to feel it free and expanded. Get rid of attachment. I am. And for that, you must allow yourself to love yourself as much as you love him. Let go of the expectation of your mission and your purpose. Fall in love with nothingness. Fall in love with the void that it has left in you, because his love lives in you, because you. Me. I am love, and I bring it within me.